numbers in his past. And I think that's really going to be, what the role is specifically on here's what you do on game day, here's what you do during the week. We'll see. I'm sure Clayton White has, better ideas about that. And that could, even evolve from now until the season or throughout the course of the season. But this is a guy that can be another set of eyes. And I think has a valuable defensive mind that could add to this defense.
Jack, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and kind of going off of what they said, I think having that continuity of already knowing a lot of the guys, having that familiarity, working with a lot of them in the past, including Shane Beamer, is going to help a lot. But also on top of that, I think you guys have kind of alluded to it, the fact that he's worked in the SEC. He spent, in 12 of his years as a defensive coordinator, 6 of them did come in the SEC when he was at Mississippi State and then Florida. And he was also at Alabama a long time ago in 2007 on Nick Saban's staff in his first year as head coach. So he already has that SEC experience, which Beamer did point out yesterday is really big and a nice, benefactor in, making this hire and stuff. And I think it's going to work out pretty well. I mean, he doesn't need to be, that at the top of the defense, for this year. But, you have Clayton White, you have Torian Gray, you have Travian Robertson, Sterling Lucas, a lot of good minds on this staff. I think Jeff Collins is another one that you add to it that can really help. And you could pull from his experience and his time as a defensive coordinator and a head coach. That's 4 guys on the staff now that have been head coaches at previous schools. And that's only going to really help when it comes to what he brings with this hire.
So the Jeff Collins hire increases South Carolina's staff overall, but does staff size matter when it comes to success? We'll dive into that coming up next as the Extra Point and Gamecock Central take over at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg. Store opens up at 10. Come by and see us hanging out until noon here on the game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover and Extra Point live at Firehouse Subs here at 133 Magnolia Village Parkway in Orangeburg. New store, we are going up until noon. Store opens up at 10. So come by and see us, coming out some delicious Firehouse Subs, and talk some ball with us as well, as we are celebrating Camp Week, as Carolina will get on the practice field later on this week. So looking forward to that. We're from Coach Beamer again on Thursday, as well as players and assistants and all that kind of stuff as part of their pre-camp media day, and we'll be on the fast track to the season starting finally. Continue on the conversation about Jeff Collins and Beamer in talking about bringing Collins in, who, of course, as Jack mentioned a moment ago, is another former head coach to add to the staff. He talks about, quality over quantity. And in today's world of college football, especially with the budget and resources that you have, you can grow your staff as big as you want. There's really no cap on how big your staff can be. And I was looking at some numbers yesterday because I remember seeing a story prior to last season that Florida had 62 members on staff, and you count assistant coaches, analysts, assistants, all those kind of things. Obviously, that's a team that went 8-5 a year ago. Ohio State had 58 members on their staff. They proceeded to win the national championship. So while quality does matter, do you still, in your opinion, we'll start with you here, Wes, do you still feel like you need a high volume of coaches as well to make sure that nothing's going unchecked?
Yeah, I think with anything, you're going to have diminishing returns at some point. Like, if you have a far smaller staff than everybody else, then I think it could be a huge issue for your program. And, some of it is just, and I think for something like this too, it probably matters how you're counting the staff. Like, are you like for some places you may have interns and student helpers that are doing just some of the pure grind work, like cutting film and helping you categorize film and going through different, kind of analyzing what your tendencies are as a coach. I think that's a big part of it now. But, there's diminishing returns when you start getting a staff that is too big. You almost can kind of lose control of your organization to an extent. Like, if I'm the head coach, I don't want to be babysitting 100 people when I already have a team roster full of over 100 people too. So I do think, honestly, when you start to get too big of a staff, the quantity or the quality is probably going to start to dip just naturally, because you're going to be less selective about how you fill those roles. So I do think it's a balance there. It's a fine line you have to walk. And certainly Beamer, I think, tends to lean a little bit more towards let's go a little bit smaller. Let's make sure we have enough resources that are needed, but let's make sure that the quality is where it needs to be.
Jack?
Yeah, and I think, I just looked on, the South Carolina staff director just to count up how many coaches they actually have, or just people on staff they have listed. And I think I counted up to 35. So that's a lot smaller than, we talked about Florida with 62 coaches on staff. That's a lot of people. So I don't think necessarily more quantity leads to better quality. Obviously, South Carolina had a really nice season last year and was just fine with everyone they had on staff. And I think you're right, Wes, about, not having to babysit, more people than you already have, right? You have to, take care of, so many people on staff already that it's like, do you even need to add more people? And I don't think you necessarily do. With Shane talking yesterday, for him, it's just kind of about, he's not going to go out there and just hire someone just for the sake of doing it. It has to be the right person, and there also has to be a very good reason for it. And with adding Jeff Collins to staff, it makes a lot of sense, and it is the right move in his opinion for the reasons that we've already talked about. He brings a lot of experience as someone that has already coached in the SEC at multiple schools. He's been a head coach before, and that is something that you can't always find. And that's experience that you definitely would like to have. So, yeah, I think with South Carolina, more quantity doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better. I think they're pretty fine with where they're at, and I think they're always open to adding someone if it's the right fit, of course.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, Jack. Obviously, weren't here on the show, but when you have these former head coaches, and now I believe 4 on staff in total, and even D. Camillus coached one game in the NFL when he was with the Broncos when Gary Kubiak was out. So you have all these guys that have different perspectives, different experiences. And look, Beamer's, been head coach for 4 years now. So he's been through a lot. He's experienced a lot and seen a lot of different scenarios and situations, but I doubt he's still seen everything. So again, when something crops up this year that he's not familiar with or he hasn't had to handle before, he has several viable options to go to and say, hey, when you were a coach, this happened to you. How'd you handle it? Those kind of things. And it doesn't mean he necessarily has to do exactly as those guys did, but having that advice, having that, wisdom within your coaching staff to be able to lean on in those situations is obviously valuable and something that he mentioned yesterday as well.
Yeah, and again, this is a guy that has been a coach in football for nearly 30 years at this point, with lots of different stops, and again, even head coaching time at Temple and Georgia Tech. Like, this is a guy that is going to be a nice little addition to the staff, and it seems like they're very excited about it. So it seems like it was the hire that was made for all the right reasons, and again, not one that you're just trying to fill a quota of getting a certain amount of coaches in. You're trying to bring the best people aboard, and doesn't matter the time. As long as it fits and it works, you're going to make the move.
Yeah, I think the thing about it, too, is I don't know if you necessarily make a move just to make a move. Like, I think this is a case where you had a guy that everybody on the staff or a lot of the guys on that side of the ball were very familiar with. So it does make a lot of sense. We have seen this throughout college football, too, over the last, decade. I think Saban was the first to really make it popular. Like, the idea of taking a guy who was a head coach and it had really just climbed the ladder, but then had hit that point to where it wasn't working out for him anymore, and they were looking for a great place to land. And then you kind of, I don't want to say reset your career a little bit, but it allows you an opportunity to be at a Power 5, Power 4 place and get your career back on track. But you're not quite as much in the spotlight. You're not quite as much in the pressure cooker that major college football delivers for you. So I do think that's something where we've seen a lot of guys have success kind of taking this exact same route that he's taking. And I've seen people speculate too, like, well, hey, is this like defensive coordinator in waiting if Clayton White ever, leaves for a head coaching job and all that stuff? I mean, is there some value to having a guy on your staff who has been a defensive coordinator at the major levels? Of course. Are we, like we normally do now in sports, getting way ahead of ourselves to even talk about that? I would say yes as well.
Yeah, it's good to have that option if something came up where Clayton White, who again was being talked about as somebody that could take a head coaching job at some places last year, considering how good the defense was, that is a potential thing that could happen in the very near future. If that does happen, you at least like to have that option of, okay, here's a guy on staff we could promote, or you go out and make an outside hire. There's no guarantees on that, but having that option in your back pocket is obviously never a bad thing. And who knows, maybe in a couple of years we're talking about South Carolina being the new place for head coach rehabilitation, like Saban's Alabama has been for so many years.
Yeah, and we bring up the reference to Mike Shula earlier with how it kind of feels similar in a lot of ways. And you guys are right. Like, Clayton White could easily be plucked for another job in the future. Like, that, there's no guarantees on what's going to happen just because he's done such a great job as the defensive coordinator since Shane Beamer's first year here in South Carolina back in 2021. So with Jeff Collins bringing him aboard, he's going to add another great defensive mind to this staff. But yeah, I mean, if it ever got to a point where it's like, hey, you're going to lose Clayton White, you have nice options in your back pocket of guys that could easily step up and become a defensive coordinator in the future. Not saying that's going to happen, but if that ever was the case, you have your choices, including a guy like Jeff Collins.
We'll continue to talk about what Beamer and the assistants had to say yesterday out at Birdies with Beamer. But coming up next, our guy, Jeremy Smith from the Garnet Trust, going to hang out with us for today's Garnet Trust Hour, starting a little bit early out here at Firehouse Subs at 133 Magnolia Village Parkway out in Orangeburg. Store opens up at 10. Come by and see us. Have a delicious Firehouse Sub. They have fries here. You can try those out as well. And obviously talk some Gamecock football as we get you set for camp coming up later on this week. This is the Extra Point here on the game.
check, 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 check.
Bring it towards me.
Check,
Way up.
check, 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 check,
You hear
check.
me now?
Can you hear me fine?
A little bit more. Is that as far as it'll go? Go again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah, it is. That one on the end, we just had to turn it all the way up. So, but I mean, I can hear him in mine.
I'm a loud talker anyway, so hopefully. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, good.
All right, cool. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point and Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. We are live here at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Going to be hanging out here till noon. Store opens up in about 30 minutes. Come by and see us, get some sandwiches. Again, they have fries at this location, which you can try out as well. And, of course, hang out with us and talk some Gamecock football as we get set for camp to start later on this week. We're moving things up a little bit in the show. Today is Tuesday, so we do have the Garnet Trust Hour today, and our guy Jeremy Smith from the Garnet Trust is hanging out with us once again. Jeremy, good to see you. It's been a little while. How are we doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be here. And, it's been a little bit of time. Hopefully get a few more opportunities to come on the show as obviously we see NIL evolve in the next 6 to 12 months.
Jeremy, we are at a Firehouse Sub. So I know Larry, a friend of all of ours.
Absolutely.
Great supporter, not only of this show, but of Gamecock athletics throughout multiple sports. And did he feed you guys yesterday? Is that right?
He did. In fact, the reason I'm here in Orangeburg is because I just left Charleston this morning. We took about 8 of the football players out on a deep sea fishing adventure that you'll be able to see on our media station 1801 here shortly. And Larry, being one of the best Gamecock supporters out there, helped feed all the football players with some great Firehouse subs. And was perfect timing to be able to come up here and spend some time, see this new location, which is awesome. And if you're in Orangeburg or passing through Orangeburg, you definitely need to show up because this place is going to be nice.
I've seen a few of those videos of those guys fishing a couple other times. They really seem to enjoy that. That seems to be a cool activity for them.
It is, and a lot of them haven't had that experience in the past, and we're lucky to partner with some great companies to go out there and give them this experience and shoot some really fun content and watch them kind of let loose, especially now since camp starts at the end of the week.
How have you seen NIL maybe, I guess, I don't want to, we'll get into all the dynamics of the rules and all this stuff, but how have you seen it change from where when all this started, there were all these different ideas of things you could do.
Right.
And I think maybe we didn't even realize, like, hey, this is going to create some really cool opportunities for the kids, not just about money and cash and all that, but just experiences that would not have been possible maybe in the old way of things.
Right. No, I think when NIL was first kind of introduced, the idea of it was for, and I think we've been consistent with Garnet Trust saying this, that it was intended to be the chance for them to profit on their name, image, and likeness, and it didn't have a ton of rules around it, so it allowed for other means to help financially pay the players. But now we are kind of going back into what it was intentionally meant to be. But to your point, yeah, the experiences and the chances for these players to do things that maybe they've never had a chance to do in the past, but now maybe do it with a business that they can be compensated with and earn a little bit of extra money. So they're getting the experience and some money in their pocket because of their NIL, and it's been really fun to be able to participate and see a lot of that happen, whether the Garnet Trust has been at the forefront or just seeing them do this through other avenues.
I'm jumping back in here, Jeremy, if you don't mind.
No.
When you look at how Shane Beamer's built his program, he talks about NIL a lot, and he talks about how he doesn't want the reason that a guy comes to South Carolina to be because of NIL, right? But at the same time, you've got to be competitive. You've got to have NIL as a part of your, I guess you could say, recruiting pitch, for lack of a better term. But how do you marry the idea of, NIL plus branding plus professional and personal development with what Shane Beamer wants to do with this program, which we all know he really values culture above everything else. His locker room is kind of sacred to him. Like, he spends more time than I think a lot of coaches thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting that you bring that up, because right now is a perfect time to kind of say this. Is people just assume that the more money that's in NIL in a school within NIL, the more successful they're going to be. Sure, there's those anomalies where it might happen every once in a while, but the New York Yankees tend to spend the most money in Major League Baseball than any other franchise, and they have not necessarily been at the top of Major League Baseball year after year after year. So it's not always the money that makes you successful. Is it a component? Absolutely, and I think at South Carolina, throughout the years and the support from the school and from the fans and everywhere else that is needed to be, the businesses here in the state, we have been able to get the money that we need to be successful. But going back to your point, the culture is key. If we did not have the culture that Coach Beamer is building, we would probably not have the success we are having. And if a player comes in and the first thing they want to know is, well, what am I going to make? Chances are they're there to play for themselves and not for the team. And as we know, it takes 11 people on each side of the ball to make things go the way they want it to go. And Shane and his staff have just done a fantastic job of really focusing in on that culture piece. And the money is a second, or more of a third layer piece. It has to be development. It has to be the culture. And then, some of the financials do come into play.
Hey, Jeremy, it's Jack. Hope you're doing well. Just wanted to ask, it's been a few years since Garnet Trust was first established. What has it been like for you to be a part of this? And, how cool has it been to help these athletes, achieve their NIL, dreams and such?
Yeah, it's a pinch me moment. I mean, every day I'm very, very blessed to be able to go out and build relationships with these young men and women and kind of watch them, grow, whether it's just in age or through their athletic abilities and whatnot. But these young men and women are just like all of us. They just happen to be very talented in a sport, and getting to know them and see how much work they put into what they're doing really brings a different view of how proud, at least me personally, how I feel about them when they go out on the field of the court and participate and know that they're giving their all. And sure, they make mistakes, and sure, there's days that we wish they would have done certain things they didn't, but they are all really, really, really working hard, and getting to know them at that level and their families at a different level has been a real blessing to me. And I thoroughly enjoy being able to do it, and hope this can continue for a long time.
Yeah, Jeremy Smith from the Garnet Trust hanging out with us here at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg. Of course, you guys handle all the sports, but from a football standpoint, of course, a lot of the offseason is done, working on these deals and make sure everybody's locked up and good to go for the upcoming season. Now with camp starting this week and obviously a month away from kickoff, what does the next couple of months look like from y'all purely from a football standpoint and how you guys handle things and operate?
Yeah, so the rules kind of shifted starting July 1st. The university, through the House settlement, is allowed to actually pay the players directly. So the contracts that we had set up with the players at the beginning of the year, we assigned over to the university, and now the university can kind of take those over and pay the players. So as far as what Garnet Trust has been doing on a daily basis up until, call it June 30th of this year, we're not going to have to necessarily sit down and do the deliverables with the players that they had to do on a monthly basis to get paid. The school can manage that. The school can pay them directly. So what we're fully focused on is really finding money. You might hear the word above the cap or the cap. So the schools, through the House settlement, will have $20.5 million if they opted in, to allow them to spread that money out how they feel is best suited for each program. And we then can come in and actually find deals that would be above the cap. And this goes back to the beginning of, this is what NIL was truly intended to be, which is working with a business like Firehouse and finding an opportunity for a player to come in and do some marketing stuff for Firehouse where they can earn money and so forth. And so Garnet Trust is fully going to be focused in on that through our revenue streams of different businesses, through our media company with 1801 Media, and also with businesses, and just partnering with them to work with some of our partners, that once they come in and partner with our partners, there is money generated, and that money goes right back to those partners in marketing with the athletes.
And just to confirm for our listeners, so if you had an athlete and you set them up with Larry and Firehouse, and they did a deal and they made some money for promoting Firehouse, that does not count towards that 20.5 mil whatsoever.
That's correct. Absolutely. And it's going to be crucial. We're not just South Carolina, but any school, especially in the SEC, is going to have to find dollars above and beyond that 20.5 million. To be completely candid, it's put a lot of pressure on the individual donor to help find that money up until this point. And there's still going to be a part of that through some of the fundraising that the school does and whatnot. But we are really focused on finding businesses and opportunities. Our membership program is still going to be very important to us, with the low dollar, $10, $20 a month type people that will get, access to athletes that they normally wouldn't get. That's going to be a component of it. But if it's a matter of you not buying a cup of coffee once or twice a month, that can help facilitate a better program for your favorite sport, we're going to ask you help participate with that. But again, we really want to focus more on the business side of things to help these businesses grow and what they're doing by utilizing athletes.
We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number one. We are live here at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Store opens up in about 15 minutes. Come by and see us. Going until noon here on the game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point and Gamecock Central takeover of Firehouse here in Orangeburg, going up until noon. Real quick, though, want to let you know this Saturday, 107.5 The Game is going to be joining Dr. Carrie White Brown for the White Brown Smiles Water Drive, which is at 224 O'Neill Court. Going to be happening Saturday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. We'll be collecting bottled water for the local homeless and nonprofit organizations. Again, that's this Saturday from 10 a.m. until 1 at 224 O'Neill Court, suite number 13. Come hang out with us and Dr. Carrie White Brown and bring some water for a good cause. A little bit of a short segment here as we wrap up the hour, but I did want to bring up this to you, Jeremy. Pete Nakos of On3, who's as well connected as anyone when it comes to things going on around the country, especially with NIL, recently put out his article about the biggest spenders in college football based on the sources that he has. And in his article, one source praised South Carolina, saying the Gamecocks did the best job in the country of retaining talent in reference to guys like Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart. And obviously, that's now combined with rev share and obviously what you guys are doing on the Garnet Trust space. But what are your thoughts when you hear something like that about what you and South Carolina have been able to do in terms of keeping talent like that around?
Culture. I mean, these players came here for a reason. Like I said earlier, it was one that they were going to be developed, and that two, that the culture was a fit for them as well. It was for the coaches and you know, everyone there within the program. And when you have that, again, NIL is not the predominant motivating factor for someone to stay. Is it going to be perfect year in and year out? No. The deeper that you get on depth, you're going to find that there's players who genuinely can play, and that they might not be able to see the field at South Carolina, that might want to go take a look elsewhere. But yeah, we've done a fantastic job at retaining. I'd love to give credit to my team as far as making that a big part of it. But I think it really starts with Coach Beamer and it starts with the football staff, that they are bringing in the right young men to ensure that that they stick around as long as their eligibility allows them.
Well, and you know, I think it's a good point. I mean, Wes and I cover recruiting, right, which is now high school recruiting and transfer portal, and that stuff's very important, right? Like, you've got to sign a great high school class. You got to nail your portal evaluation. Some of those guys are going to be big timers, like a Spencer Rattler. Some of them are going to be, you know, a Demetrius Knight, who's not really on people's radar as much and ends up coming here and developing and being a great player. But I think that South Carolina, there's a good argument that Shane Beamer, his staff, in conjunction with you guys at Garnet Trust, they have gotten even better at the retention point than when he got here, right? Like, if you look at, you know, first couple years, some of the best players on the team, just to be frank, transferred out.
Right.
You know, you had Jaheim Bell, you had Marshawn Lloyd, you had Jordan Birch. Now, not that they have not lost anybody. They have lost some guys. Nobody's immune to that nowadays. But when you look at the best players on this team, they've kept them, you know, and that's been, I think it's one reason why that source told Pete Nakos that, who are the, you know, maybe the two superstars of this team right now. It's Lenore Sellers, it's Dylan Stewart. Those two guys could have had their pick of any, you know, if they called up any school in the country and said, I want to come here, those schools would have, I think, found a way to make it happen no matter where it is. And so I think it speaks to just what you said, the culture and the building of the program, that they've been able to keep guys like that around. And I think they've gotten better at that piece.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I get calls from agents quite a bit who are looking to negotiate that next year's contract. And, you know, first things out of their mouth is, my client does not want to go anywhere, just for the record. They want to stay here, but they also want to get what the market is paying for someone at their position group. And I hear that quite a bit. I mean, when I walk into the facility, there's a ton of laughter. There's a ton of camaraderie between players that are on different sides of the ball. It's really, really cool to see that. Like, it's truly a family. And sure, families have issues every once in a while, but it's an environment that not a lot of schools have, especially when these guys come through the portal and we ask them what's different. Oh my gosh, this is an unbelievable environment to be a part of, and they're so excited to be here. This was so different than where they came from, and that's really true. And you hear it with recruits and their families when they come through and they see the kind of program that the coaches have built there, just how different it is than it is at other programs. Family first mentality is, again, part of that culture, and it's really what's helped us, I think, get through a lot.
Jeremy, it's Jack again. You know, kind of going back to Garnet Trust and stuff. How has it developed for you guys over the years, from Like where, like in your opinion, where was Garnet Trust at when you guys first started compared to where it's at now with 1801 media, all these deals for guys and stuff? How has that kind of helped in the recruiting process and helping guys come to South Carolina?
I think one thing that we've tried to do is stay one step ahead of our competition. Where the majority of schools have spent the last, call it 3 years, of really going after high-level donor funding to try to pay for their programs, and they've picked out a handful of very wealthy donors to do that. We realized from the very beginning we were not going to have that same level of money coming through our ecosystem, if you will. So we've kind of spent like, okay, what's going to be the next iteration of this? Is this was meant to be about truly building on your name, image, and likeness through a business? How could we build a business that's going to help facilitate that? And so those are some of the things that we've done. Looking at the 1801 media piece is a big component of that, because content is king, and content digitally is becoming very, very, very lucrative. And so if we can build good, strong content through that medium, we can have wonderful companies help sponsor that content, and that content that gets sponsored could go back to the players. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the player that has the best on-camera appearance. They can be part of a content piece. But we've really spent a lot of time. We continue to do so. We're looking at things beyond where the rules are look to be headed today, to make sure that we're set up to be able to just flip the switch if need be, if and when the rules do change, which they will at some point.
Real quick as we wrap up the hour here, is 1801 the media stuff South Carolina is doing? Are a lot of other programs doing that? I feel like I haven't seen as much of that stuff around the country.
Yeah, it's funny. So actually, we are technically we were like the third university to do that. We were in negotiations as to be the first, but by the time we pulled the trigger and got what we needed to ramp that up, we were technically the third. But actually, a few other universities are starting to do that. The parent company is College Sports Company, and they are now in the next, I think, 30 to 60 days, we'll have 9 universities. Michigan's coming on board. Oklahoma's coming back on board. So we are definitely on the forefront of what they're doing, but we're starting to see a lot of success. So a lot of more universities are starting to jump on the bandwagon.
We're with Jeremy Smith, hour number 2, coming up next from Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg here on the game. It's all right here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. Nobody does happy hour quite like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls, local craft beers, and handcrafted whiskey cocktails. Round out an adventurous drink menu that is truly second to none. And do not forget about those 29-degree draft beers. Are you looking for a job where you can have a ton of fun and make great money? Twin Peaks is hiring, and that might be the team for you. They're looking for Twin Peaks girls, cooks, bussers, barbacks, and more. Text work the number 4 TP to 85000. That is work the number 4 TP to 85000 if you're interested in applying. And of course, as always, you can go hang out at Twin Peaks, taking all the great sports action, delicious food, and those 29-degree draft beers as well. Twin Peaks down in the Vista.
threatened to not play for $5,000 each hour.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour. We are broadcasting live from Firehouse Subs, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Tyler West Chris going up until noon. Jeremy Smith from the Garnet Trust still hanging out with us here on this Tuesday on the game. And obviously talked about a lot of things from a specific South Carolina perspective, but a lot of news has taken place in this just past month alone in this new era of revenue sharing. And as we kind of expected, it wasn't going to all just abruptly stop and end on July 1st. There's been a lot of new things that have come out with, how NIL Go's been going, some slow stuff when it comes to hearing back from some of these deals, some pushback on the way that collectives are looked at. Are you surprised at anything that's transpired over the past month?
Not one bit. Not surprised, but at the same time, I think some of the guidance that was kind of talked about in the media that was going to happen has not happened as of yet. I don't think that's going to change the guidance. I think that College Sports Commission, along with Deloitte, I think they're making sure that whatever that new guidance is with regards to how collectives can operate, I think they're making sure that they go through that carefully, so they're not right back in the same situation here, whether it's through litigation or something else in the next 3 to 6 months. I think collectives are allowed to evolve. Any business is allowed to evolve. If a company wants to go from an Asian restaurant to an Italian restaurant, they have the opportunities to do that. And I think that specifically for Garnet Trust, and I can't speak for other schools, but for us, we have evolved. We are not the traditional quote unquote collective where we're just raising donor funds. We are truly turning into a marketing agency. And I think that the deals that we are starting to put through, I think they show that. But I'm appreciative that there was some thinking about maybe reissuing what that guidance looks like, and I think we're going to find a better spot. Hopefully, we'll hear that by the end of the week, but that's up to them to provide.
So, question, and I'm really not trying to get you. I mean, I don't think you could get in trouble for this. I'm not trying to get you to be controversial, but I mean, in your mind, why did the College Sports Commission go so far as to basically try to make it to where a collective couldn't do any deal? I mean, to me, my impression was, because I saw one of the ones that Utah State tried to put through, on social media. To me, it looked extremely, it went beyond reasonable. It almost was like, that's too much to do for that amount. It was like $2,500. It was a whole slew of appearances and a whole slew of this and a whole slew of that. And it's basically, nope. And if you read their previous guidance, it was, you can't, basically, if you're a collective, you can't do a deal. And with everything that's transpired in these few years up to this point, I mean, why did they go so far?
This is completely speculative on my part, but I feel very confident that I'm correct in this. But I've been wrong plenty of times. But I think the general idea is a collective was a bunch of boosters who just were paying money to players to play the sport that they were paying, which pay for play is not allowed. It's never been allowed. And I think that's what people, when the word collective came out, I think that's what it was. So whether it be at the NCAA level or the conference level, I think when people brought up collectives and they asked those powers to be, what are collectives? That's what they were assumed to all be, which is fine because a lot of them were like that. And so I think when the CSC put out that guidance, they're putting out that guidance based on that notion that they were just big boosters trying to just pass money through to give players more money just to play the game.
I'm curious, the NIL Go platform, would that be the word for it?
Sure.
Can you pull back the curtain a little bit for us? Like, have you seen how it actually works in terms of, how many different things does a student athlete have to fill out?
Right.
Are we seeing the process speed up a little bit? I know there was some early reporting about guys having to wait forever. And is it an algorithm? Is it an AI? Like, how does it actually work, or does anyone know?
Yeah, does anyone know? That's a $1 million question. I've seen screenshots of what information the athletes have to put in. As far it's basically asking what they're doing, what are you getting paid to do that, and who's paying you to do that. And that information then gets put into a system. How if it's determined by a human person or through AI, that I don't know. Have we seen any speed up? I have not personally seen anything speed up, but I don't know that that's not because they're waiting on some of this guidance. I do think that this was a much bigger project than maybe all thought that it would be. And when something's new, sometimes it takes time. It takes, you got to work the kinks out. And I think if people didn't realize that going in, I think they're a little bit naive. I do think over time, I do think it will work out and hopefully be a part of this that will help really bring this back to the where it was supposed to be from the very beginning.
If you had to guess on this guidance that I think you said earlier, maybe by the end of the week we'll see just kind of updated guidance from the CSE, the College Sports Commission, to be more in line with the reality. After the pushback that they got for trying to deny all collective deals, like what do you think that is a reasonable expectation for that? What that may look like? Is it just collectives are a business and they're on an even playing ground with Firehouse subs or Lowe's or the car dealership across the road? Like as long as you put it through and as long as it makes sense and it's within their what do they call it, the reasonable compensation range,
right?
As long as it's within there, you're good to go. Like, is that a fair expectation?
I think it is to some degree. I think the collective has to be doing something with the athletes that is for a true profitable business purpose. So for instance, if we wanted to bring a bunch of players to sign autographs and do some memorabilia stuff, as long as we were compensating the players a reasonable amount, they were coming to do that. And if through our membership, let's use that as an example, the members got to come for free. But if anybody who was not a member wanted to come and we charged $5 to come and participate in that, that's considered a true business expense. I think they want to make sure that it's for a for-profit scenario where there is money to be made for that business. The business is profiting as much as the players are as well.
We talked about this with Mark when he was on with us a couple weeks ago, and the CSC, it's new and it's the enforcement arm. With all this, we still don't really know what like punishments are. Like, okay, if you don't do this right, if you don't report things, and we find out, we don't exactly know what happens to these teams. Like, you almost kind of feel like that's something you need to know going into this that we still don't have clarification on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Coach Beamer, I think, said this at SEC Media Days. I mean, all these rules or regulations are great, but there has to be teeth to it, right? There has to be some consequences, and I think they need to be severe. You're right, but I don't know that they know what that really looks like. I don't know how. Someone's going to have to be the guinea pig on this, and they're going to have to do something. We're going to see what happens with that and whatnot. But yes, unless there's teeth to it, this is just just talk.
And do you feel like when they ever do find somebody, do you think they come down harder on them to kind of scare everybody else? Like with the first instance, like, hey, better not mess up because here's what it's going to do to you, before there's really to kind of set a precedent, I guess?
I think it depends on the school, to be honest with you, and how important they are to the conference.
Yeah.
But that's just me talking as a fan. But time will tell.
I will say, guys, that, I've been kind of hard on Greg Sankey for certain things, officiating, namely the SEC. But I do think
officiating is great, Chris. What are you talking about?
Yeah. We want perfection. I won't go on another rant about that. But he did make a good point at SEC Media Days, I thought. And it's that if schools, if coaches from schools and administrators from schools are going to say, we want more transparency, we want more rules, we want more structure, and then people, when I say people, the CSC, the NCAA, everybody, when they try to put those rules in place, if you're pounding the table for wanting those rules, at some point you need to play by them too. It can't be, for thee, not for me type of thing, and that is actually a great point, because all the time you hear coaches get up to a podium and say they're tampering with my players, or we want transparency, we want structure. All these other schools are overpaying, and you're looking at that coach going, y'all are doing the exact same thing, And so I do feel like, now, will that ever course correct? I mean, probably not, because people in college athletics are so competitive that they're always going to try to find an edge. But when we're looking for ways to solve all this, I do think at some point there has to be some participation with the behavior of the actual schools, and that's not something you can really put into code unless you are actually punishing them. But I mean, I thought it was a good point that Sankey made.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think I've heard those conversations, through other channels after SEC media days. That's really something that he's thinking thoroughly through, and I do believe that Commissioner Sankey is really trying to figure out what is in the best interest of all the SEC schools. Conversations are being had that might include some of the folks on our side of the lane to make sure that we are on the same page, that we can work collectively together, no pun intended, and try to make this the best opportunity for the student athletes, but also protect the schools, the coaches, and the boosters from making decisions that could jeopardize eligibility and or postseason play, etc.
We'll come back, we'll wrap things up with Jared Sith, get his thoughts on the upcoming season that we are now 33 days away from. This broadcast live from Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Store is open. Come by, see us, hang out, have some Firehouse Subs and fries too if you want. Going up until noon here on the game. All right, welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour. We're broadcasting live at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg. 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Store is open. Come by and see us. We are going to be going until noon. A couple more minutes here with our guy Jeremy Smith from the Garnet Trust. We'll get into previewing the season and everything here in just a minute. But again, we're in this new era, revenue sharing. But you guys are just as important to the university as ever, and that relationship still as strong as ever. And you guys continue to play a vital role with hopefully the success that all these sports are going to be having going forward.
Yeah, no, I mean it is, and it's an all hands on deck. To be completely candid with you, there's a lot of other opportunities that can be done through the university as well as through Garnet Trust, and Jeremiah Donati, I think, has done a really good job of kind of feeling out the landscape where things fit. I don't know that the communication has been out there on what is everything going to look like. I don't think a lot of people know. I don't think there was a lot of stuff that we could have said that was concrete, and I still think some of that concrete is still drying. But I do think over the coming weeks and hopefully month, I think once the things do start settling down with College Sports Commission, how the deals are put through NIL Go, and through our continued communication with the university, I think you will see a more direct alignment or lane for Garnet Trust to be a part of. And what I mentioned earlier and the things that we're trying to do, I think that's the direction we're going to go. Could things shift a little bit one way or the other? Absolutely. But I do feel we have the full support of the athletic administration and the university to be a key component in this new world, because like I said earlier, above the cap money is going to be crucial, especially in the SEC. And without that, we will not be as competitive as we could be.
Yeah, I was going to say, how nice is that, for one, just, for you personally, obviously, but for Garnet Trust, and just the excitement level for you to possibly play a role in helping South Carolina maybe build that advantage, because some places have either gone away from their collectives completely or have maybe kind of pushed them to the side a little bit. It does seem like there's more synergy in Columbia.
Yeah, we're one of very few schools that have a great relationship with the athletic department, and we're really lucky to be able to have done that. And we've when Coach Tanner was the athletic director, he embraced us and allowed us to be a part of the conversations to make sure that we were doing what was in the best interest of the university and the athletes. And I can't stress this enough. Having that relationship is going to be paramount to where we go in these next few years, because a lot of schools, like I said, off air, they're scrambling. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Their collectives did not have good relationships with their administration. Everyone knows they have to find money above the cap. They don't know who to rely on, who can actually deliver that. But we are in a much better spot than a lot of other schools, and I hope that continues.
Well, and this is touching a little bit more on a point you made, I think, in the first segment or the second segment that you were on with us, but just to touch on it again and maybe expand. When you look at the conversation among fans online, and not just here, like anywhere, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, it is typically, how much NIL money do we have? Does our school have to spend? But how much, I don't want to say more important, how important relative to that is just that alignment with the school and having kind of a long-term strategy, as just opposed to, I'm thinking about the Nick Saban quote where, you can pay $20 million to a roster, but if you're paying the wrong guys, then you're, a word I can't say, out of luck.
Yeah.
I can't say the word on the air. But how important is that alignment also with the school and just making sure you're being smart with the funds?
Oh, it's crucial. I mean, it's absolutely crucial. And I'll say, we've been speaking a lot about football here today, so I'll just continue on that line that, working with the football department, specifically Darren Usher, and his evaluation with his team and the coaches in the program, to make sure that we are utilizing that money and spending on the players that they feel are going to bring the best results to the football program is crucial. Are you going to miss on some? Absolutely. I mean, that's just it's a numbers game to some degree, but I think that's part of the reason why we have been so successful thus far, is we've been able to distribute the money in a way that best suits the program, and being in alignment with Darren and his team has been absolutely crucial.
Again, 33 days away from kickoff against Virginia Tech in Atlanta on August the 31st. We've been talking about it all off season. Coming off the 9-3 campaign, Sellers is being touted as potential Heisman candidate, first-round draft pick. A lot of guys getting the spotlight this offseason. Where's your sense of what your expectations are this upcoming year for South Carolina?
I mean, I think we have all the pieces that we need to be successful. I'm not a coach. I'm a fan first, and so I'm going to leave the actual results up to the players and to where the coaches feel that they're going to be. But I'm very optimistic. I think if we can stay healthy, I really think that this could be a unique season for us. We have some unbelievable players that are not only returning for us, but also that came in through the portal. I'm extremely excited as a fan. I can't wait for those 33 days to go past fast.
Do you get season prediction requests as often as Wes and I do?
I don't, probably not as often as you do, but when I do, I always come back with, I hope we win more than we lose. I'm scared to ever give a prediction because, like I said earlier on, I'm not good at placing bets. Part of the reason why I live in Columbia, South Carolina, not Las Vegas, Nevada.
Tyler mentioned earlier Lenore Sellers, and I hesitate to use the word hype. It almost seems like to have a negative connotation. I feel like the attention, the recognition he's getting is well deserved going into the season. But you've been able to spend a lot of time around him, Dylan Stewart, a lot of the other players. What's kind of your take on Lenoris and the type of guy that he is? I mean, we've had him on the show, just
humble,
a unique guy.
Humble. I mean, he's he realizes there's a lot of stuff going around and being talked about him. But even yesterday on our fishing trip, the captain of the boat was asking him some questions, about how he feels potentially being a Heisman hopeful and things of that nature. And the way he answers that is just genuine. He wants to go out and be the best player that he can be and let everything else take care of itself. I can't stress this enough. It goes back to the culture. It goes back to the players that Coach Beamer recruits. They're there for the team first, and then the accolades that they get come secondary to that based on how they produce with their teammates.
Did Jaden Sellers go out on the boat as well?
Jaden did go out on the boat, yes. And Jaden's probably going to have some fun highlighted. The kid is hilarious. He is a different personality than his brother. And as he gets a little more experience within the team, I think you're going to see a class clown develop very quickly. He's a fun kid.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's been properly realized, like how unique that would be if Lenoris, or when I probably should say, when Lenoris throws a touchdown pass to Jaden. How many brother touchdown passes have there been in South Carolina? Has there ever been one in South Carolina history? Like, has there ever been?
I'm aware of.
I mean, I don't think there's been many in like SEC history. So
right.
I think that's one of those things where, and South Carolina has multiple brothers on the team.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where, oh, that's cool. He's going to play with his brother. Carolina's had twins on the team before. They've got twins coming in
next year.
Right. But to actually have a brother to brother touchdown pass in an SEC football game, or just for an SEC team, is going to be a pretty cool, unique experience when it happens.
Absolutely. And obviously we all hope that happens and hope that there's a lot of touchdowns thrown, not only by Lenoris, but obviously to his brother to see that experience and see that unfold, because both come from a very good family, and it's exciting to watch them be able to play together.
Speaking of Sellers again, and we sat up with him at Media Days, and again, he's getting a lot more attention this offseason than he got last year, but I do feel like he's kind of coming out of his shell a little bit. Again, he's still a very quieter kid, especially compared to his brother, but I think he kind of understands the attention that he's getting and is willing to open up a little bit more than maybe he was, last year when we talked to him and things like that.
He is, absolutely. I mean, he's definitely starting to come out of his shell. He's being asked a lot of questions. He's getting experience in front of the camera, in front of the microphone and things like that, which has allowed him to kind of loosen up a little bit. And I'll give a real quick story. Yesterday, we went fishing. It was like the second hottest day on record in the last 5 years, or was the hottest day in 5 years. And the sun absolutely just beat us to death. And we were coming back into shore, and we were going to be sitting down and having dinner with the fish we caught, which is a kind of a tradition that we've started on these trips. And the players were just beat to death. And we had some special guests that were supposed to show up to enjoy the dinner with us, as they were a participant of some of the boating facilities that helped us out. And to be honest with you, the players just couldn't take it. Lenore stayed. He stayed, and he actually physically went to their house and spent time with them yesterday afternoon. And it just shows the character of who he is. the ability to feel comfortable to go into an environment he didn't know anybody, and there was about 20 people there asking for autographs and wanted to sit down and talk to him on the couch with their kids who had driven down from Greenville. Again, it just goes to show who he is as a person. He is definitely coming out of his shell, and I can't wait to see what he does on the field and hopefully some of the funny things he says off the field.
Did you get Dylan Stewart? Is fishing one of the things that gets him to open up a little bit?
I was not on the particular boat he was on, but I was told he was definitely coming out of his shell, and he definitely loves to fish now. And they all very quickly said, we can't wait to go back out on the water. But Dylan, too, is a very funny young man who's quiet at times. But when he comes out of his shell, he's hilarious.
I think he has his things that he enjoys. And if you get him on one of those things, like apparently horror movies.
I remember that. People were talking about it.
That's his bag.
Yeah.
So apparently fishing.
It was at least yesterday. Yeah. So I think when the video comes out, I think you'll see a different side of a Dylan that maybe a lot of people don't see. But I heard it was a lot of fun.
And we know when that's coming out from 1801.
I don't know. We are the production has sent it back. We had a crew from ESPN come and help do the filming for us. We had a guy actually in the water with a camera as we were doing some fishing, and unfortunately we had a big grouper that we were reeling in, and two big shark took a big bite out of it, and we had to get him out of the water very fast because there's two 10-foot sharks swimming around the boat. So a little interesting, but yeah, we had fun. We'll hopefully it'll come out soon. We'll definitely let everybody know.
Anybody get seasick, or everybody good?
Everybody had a good time.
That's what I was going to say. Man, that guy, whoever that was that volunteered to get in the water while y'all were chumming and throwing out and bloody fish and everything.
That's why you hire professionals. I don't know.
So
yeah.
I hope you had on armor.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, Jeremy, thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate it as always. And again, we'll have you on down the line as well.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
It is the Garnet Trust Hour, broadcasting live here at Firehouse Subs, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Stores open. Come by and see us going until noon here on the game.
All right, everyone, one of our great partners here on the game, of course, our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating since 1983. Locally owned and operated, family owned and operated business. Krantz Cooling and Heating, they've been serving residents and businesses all around the Midlands with any of your HVAC needs. It's been pretty hot in Columbia, if you haven't noticed. It's got a heat wave going on. During the football season, it'll cool down. No matter what season it is, the folks over at Krantz Cooling and Heating, led by their general manager, Justin Krantz, a guy I know well, they're able to come out and help you at your home or your business from an HVAC standpoint. Anything you may need. New system, maintenance, repairs, installations, they can do it all for you. They've been out to my home. They did such a great job. I trusted them to go out to my mom's house when she moved out to Irmo. KrantzCooling.com. You can book an appointment, even text them there. Give them a call. Or go to KrantzCooling.com, KrantzCooling.com.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour / Gamecock Central Takeover. We're live at Firehouse Subs here in Orangeburg, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Again, we're going until noon. Store is open. Come by, enjoy some delicious Firehouse Subs. We're putting our list of sandwiches together for a little bit later. We're going to try some fries as well, as this is one of the locations that's being tested out at that hopefully will make it all the locations in time. But we heard about this a while back, and I've been very excited to finally try these things.
Yes, we heard from sources. So now
the source.
The source. I mean, yeah, the sign greets you as soon as you come in here. I'm very excited. So I'm always a big fan. I like fries,
Sure.
Unfortunately, but I do a little too much. And we've heard that these things are really good. They look delicious,
Yes,
right?
they do. They're very seasoned.
And Larry told me they're good. I trust his judgment, but I'm very excited about the hero sauce that comes with it.
Yes.
I'm a big fan. I don't do ketchup with fries.
Never? Really? Okay.
Well, I mean, I will,
sure.
but I prefer give me like a fry sauce, give me some ranch, give me some hot sauce,
Yeah.
give me all of them, like a dipping station.
Yeah, I won't. I'll do ketchup with fries at home mainly, but yeah, if I'm at a restaurant or
Yeah.
something like that, I typically want to go with whatever their sauce is, a Chick-fil-A sauce, fry sauce, whatever it may be, like as the vehicle to use
Yes.
for my French fries that day. So yes, hero sauce, which we enjoy on plenty of subs here at Firehouse Subs as a dipping mechanism. I'm looking forward to
Dipping
that.
mechanism. We're going deep. Yeah, I love it. I've also got my custom. I mean, we always have sub ideas. So I
Sure,
now
sure.
have my like fry platter with extra
Yes.
stuff on it.
Okay, like a
Larry.
loaded Firehouse fries. Yeah.
That's the term. Yeah,
Okay.
loaded Firehouse fries. So we'll probably have like
Larry did promise he'd get us in the test kitchen one day.
Okay.
So
I feel like I could whip something up, ideate some fry
Yeah.
recipes,
Sure.
loaded fries, and we might make them a menu fixture.
sounds good to me.
The
Look forward
Tyler
to
Head
trying
Fry
those.
experience.
That's right. We'll keep y'all updated as we try those. To follow up on something we were talking about there with Jeremy from Garnet Trust in reference to obviously the Sellers brothers being on the team now. The only instance I can find of brothers scoring touchdowns together was the Johnson brothers at A&M, Max and Jake, in 23.
Good pull.
They
Yeah.
scored a couple touchdowns that season. I'm reading an article. It does not mention it being the first time ever in SEC or college football. So I imagined it's happened other times, but that's the only example that I can come up with.
The only man, I had totally forgotten that. That's a good pull. There have been some instances. Well, I don't want to say some. I can literally only think of one. There was a guy who played for Mississippi State recently, and his brother maybe played for Bama,
Okay.
and so they were crossing paths on the field during a
Uh,
possession change. Maybe even they were playing against each other at the same time on the field.
Sure.
I remember that, but that was two different schools.
Yes.
So I think you've had some instances of, hey, you've got two brothers on the same team, you've got two brothers on different teams, and they play. Like, you see that.
Sure.
But I cannot think of many. Let us know on the Firehouse Subs text line if you can think of an instance. But I can't think of any.
I think of a lot of instances of like brothers playing the same position, like the McCoy brothers both play quarterback at Texas, so do the Shipley brothers. But a rare instance of like the brother being a quarterback, because again, you're talking about somebody having to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So brother being quarterback and the other brother being in a position, receiver, running back, tight end, whatever it may be, to receive the ball and score a touchdown is a very rare instance that we'll have to maybe do some digging, see if again it would be the first time, but like maybe a very rare instance in college football if that does end up happening with the Sellers brothers.
Yeah, we might have to put our guys in the SID. Our friend Steve Fink, his crew. I wonder if that's something they'd like to dig into for us too, because I mean, man, I just can't think of one here. That's out there.
I think it is rare. Like I think it is way more rare than maybe anybody has talked about to this point.
Well, you heard Tyler's Texas A&M, Max Johnson, Jake Johnson.
That's the only one I
A couple
can think
guys
of.
that we tracked their recruitment, and that's the only. Yeah, that's pretty recent
that
too.
was a touchdown pass.
Yeah, they
More
had
than one.
they had a couple that season.
Yeah.
And Max is now at North Carolina, and I think is Jake still at A&M? He might be. I don't think they're on the same team anymore.
Yeah, Max has been around a while.
Yeah, Max is a journeyman. That's for sure.
He's
Yeah.
been around a while.
Well, and Max also was like a known high school recruit kind of early too, so it's like he's been on the profile.
Got a long.
He's on the radar a long time.
He's going to be on Mandel's geezer team if he has eligibility next year.
It's going to be on
The Geese are team.
Quarterbacks on Netflix, which I've been trying to get Tyler to watch every day.
It's on my list.
His
Oh,
wife,
so
won't-
Chris,
his wife,
Chris hasn't watched it either. You
his
don't
wife
dog him
won't let
for
him.
it.
Chris hadn't been here.
His wife won't let him.
Listen, guys, I spend a lot of time in the evenings preparing for our shows. I do like to have some time with my wife away from the sports realm,
That is a great
which she
idea.
appreciates. So if she wants to watch it, we'll do that. If not, I will.
Told you.
I will carve out the time myself elsewhere to
Yeah,
try
you
and figure it
gotta
out.
get up early, even earlier in the morning,
Yes.
and knock out an episode before you
Yeah.
come in, so you can give Wes.
You're going to come in
your
and be like,
review.
man, that was great. You're right. I loved it.
He'll be all tired because he had to get up early.
It's
To
like,
watch
you guys are going to have to
watch your
plan
show.
the entire show.
Yeah,
now.
I'll do it for the content.
But that if we wanted to maybe dive it in even smaller, quarterback wide receiver duo,
Yes.
brothers, to throw and catch a touchdown because that's a tight end.
Yeah.
So like if you really wanted to cut it down, I cannot think of ever hearing of it happening in South Carolina.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe we can. I don't know, but there's a database for like most stats and a lot of various different college football things. I don't think they have a sibling database, and you can't. You
It'd
can't.
be a small database is the thing, like
Early-
in terms of
Yes, it's
Yeah.
like 2 people. But I mean, you can't ask Chat GPT. Earlier, Wes, before you walked in, I was looking up some 33 related items for South Carolina because it's 33 days till kickoff. Trying to get ahead of Tyler's question, and Chat GPT informed me that Dylan Stewart is currently wearing number 33 for South Carolina, which of course is not true.
That is not correct.
And so I can't ask them about the sibling question either.
You always have to scroll down a little bit further now because it gives you that AI thing right off the jump. And sometimes it's it's legit, but
Sometimes.
you always have to get that second verification before you are so sure. Because yes, Dylan Stewart is not wearing 33.
Well, I was trying to find an old article of ours, and I searched on Google, and the Google AI was giving me a summary of South Carolina football expectations, and it was like crediting Gamecock Central for some of the stuff on there because I basically I was looking for an old depth chart from the spring to bring it forward to now, and I had Googled Gamecock Central South Carolina football depth chart, blah blah blah, and it just gave. I was like, this is not what I'm doing at all. It gave me a preview of the season, position by position, and incoming transfer Gage Larvadan was credited with the guy who's going to make a big impact this year.
And this is what I work according to Wes Mitchell,
Yeah.
Gage Larvin,
Wow.
or according to Chris Clark. Like, I'm
And
worried about that.
there was it literally made somebody up on one of them. Like it was like Kyle Hull, like HU, and I was like, who? And it was like I think it somehow like had grabbed our guy Horton from a couple of years ago.
Kylie Corton.
Yeah, Kyle, and like I think that's somehow like I don't know.
He had transferred back apparently.
I guess
It's gotten bad. Honestly, this isn't like a pitch for. It kind of is for listening to us or reading Gamecock Central. Like, I can't tell you how many times I get sent a Facebook link. Is this real? And I'm like, read it. No, Williams Bryce is not on fire right now. Like all these crazy things. I'm like, no.
South Carolina is going to disband its football program from football.chat.government.com. It's like, nah, it's not legit.
It's not written by author. Yeah, it's not.
Okay, if you scroll through it on Facebook, take it with a grain of salt.
Yes,
I always go with that.
that's a good strategy.
We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2. Who is Coach Beamer's dad going to be rooting for in week number 1? We'll discuss that coming up next. It is the Garnet Trust Hour. We're live at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg, going until noon on the game.
Yeah, he's given the politically correct answer of saying he wants both teams to play well. I called my parents on Saturday. I was driving back from the beach, and my son and I were in the car, and we called my parents, and he was telling me that same story, and it was kind of, hold on now, you can tell Brent that, but you're sitting with us, so you're not going to sit with my wife and where she is, just hoping both teams play well. There better be a little bit more allegiance to us than just hoping you see a good game.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour, brought to you by our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating. We're live at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg. Tied with Chris going up until noon. That was Coach Beamer talking yesterday at Birdies with Beamer. Being posed the question of, hey, who's your dad, Frank Beamer, going to be rooting for? Of course, Shane being his son, coaching at Carolina, but Virginia Tech, where he built his legacy. And as Shane mentioned yesterday, he's got a statue out in front of there. So a little bit of a different story. I would lean towards probably rooting for South Carolina, but definitely a Beamer family affair with this game coming up in 33 days.
Yeah, I do think it's got to be a little bit strange. Maybe stranger for Frank Beamer than it is for Shane Beamer. Like, yes. I obviously long-standing ties for Shane Beamer to VT. He did play there. That was a long time ago. You're so just in it as a coach. Like, you're focused on your guys. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know, other than the questions he's going to get, I don't really know that this is a massive deal. It's certainly not going to be a big deal once this thing kicks off. It might actually be much stranger for Frank Beamer to sit there, a program that he's pulled for decades now in Virginia Tech, and pull against them. Now, I have no doubt he's going to be pulling for Shane Beamer. He's going to be pulling for South Carolina. But I got to imagine it'll be a little bit strange.
I mean, I'm just trying to – I'll never have a statue built of me for any reason.
Well, hey, now, you got time.
But, yeah. But if you think about, like, all right, think about how weird that is. If you go to a place, they've literally got a statue out in front. You still live there. You still know the people. Your son played there. Your family grew up there. You coached there. And then you're like, I got to go root against him. But it's your son,
Yeah.
And I remember Shane Beamer talking about this before a little bit where, like, he was joking around about it. Like, no, you're not going to be conflicted. Like, you're sitting with us. You're sitting with Emily. I think he mentioned at one point that his mom was the one that he was more worried about of getting her to root for the Gamecocks. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I thought it was interesting, too. I don't think Shane Beamer has said this before publicly, but he even said yesterday a couple times, like, I'll be glad when it's done.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Right? Like, not that it's like a distraction, but it's just like it's a football game. It's the first game of the year. He seems to be more focused on we've got this big opportunity in this kickoff game to open the year, different schedule than you normally have. And I think all the Virginia Tech stuff is just like it's been building for so long. It's just like let's play the game.
Well, and there's no easing into it, right? And look, last year they played Old Dominion, and that was a tight game that we reacted to accordingly the 2 days after that. But you don't have a tune-up here. This isn't an FCS team. You're playing another Power 4 program that, they're not in the best place right now. Brent Pye is somebody on the hot seat, but as we've talked about many times, that was the team that lost a lot of one-score games last year. I think all but one of their games that they lost was a one-score game. So they have the ability to hang with anybody, and they're one that can give South Carolina problems. We've talked about all the newness to this team, the unanswered questions that we have in so many different position groups. And I imagine he's on pins and needles to see what this team's finally going to look like against a quality opponent right out the jump in week one.
Well, we've talked about this too. You have so little knowledge going into a week one, even traditionally. Like, week ones are ridiculously hard, I think, on coaches, on players, on everybody. And now with the transfer portal, you have a bunch of new guys on your side. You're playing a team that has a new offensive coordinator, and he does have a track record, but how deep into his kind of traditional, he's from the Art Briles coaching tree. How heavy into that is this offense going to be? You have a new defensive coordinator on the other side, and this guy who actually coached at Wofford, so you do have maybe some knowledge there, but the last few years has been an assistant at the NFL level, so he wasn't even running his own scheme. So You do know what VT has at quarterback. That's one spot where they return their starter. You know kind of what he's all about from a skill set standpoint. But most of their secondary is new. Their stud running back from last year is gone. I think their receiving core is completely rebuilt, and so some of those things you're like, well, all right, maybe that's a good thing for South Carolina. But some of those things you're going, man, you're going to have so many adjustments that you're going to have to make on the fly in this game. I think as game week gets here and South Carolina dives into their game plan, the approach, Shane Beamer couldn't care less what logo is going to be on that helmet. It's going to be about how can you put yourself in a position to go out there and win this game, because Carolina's favored for a reason, but it ain't going to be easy. Like, this is not going to be a game you just show up and win. Should Carolina win? Yeah, I think so, but it's not going to be an easy game.
Well, and I think even saying should Carolina win, you're kind of basing that off of what we saw last season. South Carolina, yes, they've got some. I think they have answers, Dylan Stewart, Lenore Sellers, but they got a lot of questions, not with just a new offensive coordinator on their side, but they've got a lot of personnel changes coming too. Special teams. What if this is a close game? Special teams could weigh in heavily. Then you're looking at Virginia Tech last year, and you're kind of basing it off of, okay, here's what Virginia Tech had last year. Here's how the season went. Here's who they lost, and here's who they brought in. But, I mean, it's a good point, Wes. They lost a lot of players to the portal, and they brought in a lot of players. And I think between their high school class and their portal class, they got like 40 new guys on this team. It's kind of hard to say what they are. If we really want to go really deep into the bag of things that coaches are going to be concerned about, I'm sure Shane Beamer will talk about this. I think he's mentioned it already. After this game, win or loss, they got a short week. Yep. So that, yes, it's quote-unquote just SC State that they're playing the next week. So it would be different if South Carolina was, playing Vandy or Missouri or Kentucky, LSU, one of their next games. You might feel a little bit different. But Shane Beamer, from a coaching staff, like a head coach standpoint, a scheduling standpoint, he's not going to treat it any differently. And that's just one more of the things you have to think about in playing this opener in this fashion.
In that game, 33 days away. We'll get into our 33 days till kickoff. Trivia question coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. But right off the jump, going to be talking to our guy, John Bryce of footballscoop.com and the latest going on around college football, Deion, Bill Belichick, and so much more. That's coming up in hour number 3. Again, we're broadcasting live from Firehouse Subs, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway, going up until noon. Come by and see us here on the game.
Another one of our great partners here on the program, Integrated Media. If you've ever had issues with your Wi-Fi, know that you're not alone. Most people have. I know I have at my home, but I have called, and you can call also our good friends over at Integrated Media to solve any of those issues. Michael, Nathan, their team, they've been to my home. They've been to Wes Mitchell's home, fixed his Wi-Fi up where it is running in tip-top shape, ready for the football season because we can all stream across multiple devices. No dead spots in our home. They can do anything that you need from an audio-visual standpoint, too. So you don't have to go to the big box stores. You don't have to browse the thousands of options on the internet. You don't have to get poor customer service. They can do it all for you. They can recommend the equipment for you. They can source the equipment. They can come out and professionally install it at your home, take care of any issues that you may have. IntegratedMediaInc.com, or give Michael, Nathan, and the crew at Integrated Media a call today, 803-948-8327, Integrated Media.
11 o'clock. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, Chris. We're all hanging out here. Josh is here. Grayson's here. Our guy Larry Chandler's here. Everybody's here at the new Firehouse Subs location out here in Orangeburg. Store is open. We got customers coming in. Can smell the delicious subs cooking. And Larry was just further hyping up the French fries. We'll get to try here in a little bit. So, exciting morning.
Hype is only if it's undeserved, Tyler.
That's a good point.
So
That's a really good point.
I think these are going to meet the challenge.
We'll certainly talk about that more as the hour goes along. But kicking off the hour with our guy, John Bryce of footballscoop.com. John, appreciate you taking your time as always. We're right at a month until the season starts. Hopefully the summer was good as, it's time for all of us to lock in on another season of college football.
Yeah, what summer, guys? So, we're all pretty fortunate to do what we do, but I did 3 different coaches symposiums and some stuff like that. So I'm not really sure where summer went, but camp is here, and that means job security for all of us.
So when you look at the South Carolina team, we'll start off there and expand out a little bit more here in a minute. When you look at the South Carolina team, 9-3 a year ago in the regular season, you got Sellers coming back, you got Stewart coming back. I mean, where, if you want to call it a prediction, where do you see this team being in 2025?
Yeah, I said this maybe on Fox Sports last week or something like that, and radio, and I expect South Carolina to go into November being thickly in the playoff hunt. I would be very surprised if not, and the fact that South Carolina has Virginia Tech and Clemson on its schedule gives the Gamecocks a pathway, I think, to one of the highest seeds, to challenge for one of the highest seeds if the season breaks the right way for the Gamecocks. I mean, the fact that they're playing, 10 power conference teams, that's just huge potential for them. It's obviously a huge challenge, but it's huge potential for them with those 2 particular ACC teams also on their schedule in addition to their SEC slate, and with what they bring back and with the stability that Shane Beamer, has fostered in that program.
John, Chris here. Thanks for taking time to join us, man. I know you've been swamped and continue to be so going into the season here. So you obviously are pretty high on South Carolina this season. Go a little bit deeper for me if you can, and what's the reason for it? I mean, I think, Lenore Sellers, Dylan Stewart, like everybody's going to talk about them, but what else do you like about Shane Beamer's program? And certainly you can touch on those guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you have 2 potentially transcendent players like those, that's a great place to start. But I alluded to it a moment ago. The overall stability in Beamer's program, I think, is noteworthy. It's not a program that's just been absolutely ravaged by the portal, in my opinion, and it's not a program that's had to absolutely lean on the portal in any shape or form. Also, and I can't take credit for this. This is obviously a question at SEC Media Days, but look at the way the program has developed players and taken 3 stars and turned them into draft picks. And Notre Dame's got some history of doing that, particularly Mike Mickens in the secondary all the way back to his days at Cincinnati with taking 3 stars and making them draft picks. So I think when you develop guys and keep them in your program longer, it obviously fosters not only belief among the players, but it ultimately contributes to a healthier culture. And I think Shane Beamer would tell you he wants a healthy culture first and foremost in his program. And I think that's something that he probably takes a lot of pride in.
Hey, John, it's Wes. Great to hear your voice, man. Let's go outside of the Gamecock bubble real quick here if we can. Reading one of your articles right now, actually, about North Carolina and that rebuild. And to your point here in the article, we all talked about the number of new players that Deion Sanders brought in when he first arrived in Colorado and how, maybe we'd never seen anything like it before. But I'm reading here, according to your count, North Carolina and Bill Belichick have brought in 70 new players this offseason. What are your latest thoughts on this, I guess, experiment and if this thing can work out?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this experiment, and I hate to use the terminology, but it does have a certain NASCAR big one, the big wreck appeal to it. Like we're kind of all waiting to see what happens on the backstretch at Talladega, and I feel like that's kind of how many of us are viewing this North Carolina season. I would be stunned if Bill Belichick is a long-term answer for the Tar Heels. And, they said 70, and I round to 70 in that story. I really think, guys, that it's closer to like 72 or 73 newcomers, which is just impossible to believe. And I think because of the timing of all of it and some of them not arriving until this summer, I don't know how quickly you can turn that around and develop the chemistry and culture that we just talked about as being, I think, key intangibles for the South Carolina program. So now I do think that North Carolina has a great chance to win its opening game. I think at home at TCU. I am fascinated by that contest, and it wouldn't at all surprise me to see North Carolina win that game. I just don't think that the Tar Heels are going to be immediate contenders in the ACC, which would then, if they're contending in the ACC, make them immediate contenders in the college football playoff. I would be pretty surprised by that if that was to happen.
Well, John, you covered this coaching search, and so I know you got some connections around this thing. This is a hard question to answer because I feel like the answer is normally like it depends, right? But you just mentioned that you don't really see Belichick as a long-term solution, and maybe that's even whether or not he's ultimately successful. But, I mean, do you have a feel for, like, let's say this thing goes bad, okay, and this season's a disaster, like, how much runway is there here for either him to say, okay, this isn't for me, tried it, didn't work, or, it was a very interesting hiring process, even bringing him in, because some people say, okay, we tried this thing, it didn't work. But I guess what I'm saying is, could the plug be pulled on this quickly in your mind if it's not working out?
Well, I mean, look, he has almost no financial incentive to not pull the plug if it's an abject disaster. I mean, the buyout is so minimal for him moving forward. So, yes, the North Carolina likes to tout that it just sold out of season tickets and that they committed a $50 million contract to him and are paying assistants more than ever before. But the fact of the matter is Belichick can now get out of that contract for literally like $1 million. And so that's absolutely nothing to him. That maybe is Jordan Hudson's shopping budget. I don't know. So I don't think that there's anything there that would force this to be a long-term marriage if it's a disaster. And you referenced the bizarre nature of the search, and you had power brokers, but not necessarily UNC employees who were calling the shots in this coaching search. And I think Bubba Cunningham is an excellent athletics director and has done a very nice job there. And I'll never be convinced that Bubba Cunningham's choice was Bill Belichick. I think Bubba Cunningham very much favored John Summerall, and I think John Summerall would have been a better fit and probably in the big picture long run done a better job at North Carolina.
Again, talking to John Bryce, footballscoop.com. And obviously we had learned the news of Deion yesterday, beating cancer, which is obviously fantastic and is going to be sticking around the Colorado program. But do we see the shift of like that casual sports media attention go from Deion to Bill Belichick this upcoming year, or will we still expect the same kind of coverage about Deion and what's going on at Colorado, even though that Shador and Travis Hunter aren't there? How do you see that playing out?
I think we'll see. I think we'll still see a very high level of it on Deion. It will just be accompanied by more coverage of North Carolina. There's no column inches on the web for us old newspaper heads. Like, you can write as much as you want to about anything you want to. So you don't have to not cover Belichick because you're writing about Deion, or not write about Belichick because you're writing about Deion, or vice versa. So I think there will be a lot. I think there will be more coverage of North Carolina football this year than probably ever before. Certainly probably the most since Mac Brown had the Tar Heels in the top 10 2 decades ago, or 25 years ago, I guess it was, whenever it was, a really long time ago. We were all actually young then. So I do think that there will be that fascination there. I think there will be loose correlations drawn between Belichick and Deion, just because they were both transcendent figures in the NFL. Belichick for his coaching and Deion for his playing. And Deion's been away from Colorado and for health reasons, and has been very vocal about his faith, and I applaud him for that. There's still a lot of people out there waiting to see if Deion falls flat on his face. So I talked about people watching North Carolina to see if it's going to be a NASCAR crash, and I still think there's a lot of people viewing Colorado through that same lens.
John, 3 more minutes here with you, so to close out this appearance, your regular appearance here on the show. Let's reset this. Biggest pressure in terms of jobs this season, not just maybe in the SEC, but just nationally. Are there some coaches that need to have, aside from North Carolina, a big year to keep things stable?
That's a great question, Chris, and one that I was actually discussing with an agent late into the night last night, trying to figure out what hot seats are real this year around the sport. And he emphasized to me he still really believes that Billy Napier, can't backslide. They carry a lot of momentum in this year, but it's still Florida. There's still a lot of expectation there. I would look not far from the University of Florida and think probably the most is Mike Norvell. I think he faces immense pressure. He has had one truly spectacular season at Florida State that would have been a playoff season if not for the injury to the quarterback. And then he's had a bunch of disasters or middling successes. So I think Mike Norvell at Florida State would probably be tip top on my list. I don't think Mark Stoops can have another 1-win SEC season in Kentucky. I think that Brent Brennan needs to show real progress at Arizona. Those are just a handful of the power conference jobs. And I think that, nobody's going to force Kyle Whittingham or Kirk Ferentz out at Utah or Iowa, respectively. But I do think these are significant juncture point seasons for those guys.
Real quick here, John, before we let you go, you mentioned Billy Napier there. News coming out of Florida already that DJ Lagway is a little bit banged up, apparently in a walking boot. If Lagway's hurt this year and can't go out there and play the majority of the season, would Napier get a pass for that, or would he still be, subject to potentially get moved on?
No, I don't think so. I don't think when you're this deep into it, when you're year 4, if something happens and keeps your quarterback out before the season ever starts, I don't think that you get a free pass on that. And full transparency, I really like Billy Napier. I've known about Billy since his days at Furman, so I have a lot of respect for him. But it's the SEC. College football has never been a bigger business, and it will be treated as such more so this year than ever before.
He's John Bryce, footballscoop.com. We appreciate your insight as always, and you're one of our favorite guests. We'll have you on as the season goes along as well.
Heck yeah, let's do it. Get a hook and ladder for me there today, boys.
Oh, we've got a full spread. Don't worry about that. Appreciate it, John. All right, we'll continue on Firehouse Subs here in Orangeburg, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. 33 days to kickoff. What's my trivia question for Wes and Chris? That's up next here on the game.
All right, guys. Yeah, we are live here from Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg. Still time to come hang out with us and say what's up and to try the fries. Chris, I just saw you take your first bite, man. Did you get some of the sauce as well, the hero sauce?
Of course, yeah. I'm a big fry sauce guy.
Early review?
Man, outstanding. They're
Crispy,
not greasy, well-seasoned, and the sauce sets it off. I mean, it's over the top. The Firehouse Hero sauce. And Larry Chandler here, Larry, do we mix the Captain Sorensens with the
hero sauce? So, like I said, we are live we're going to tell you more when we come back from break. Tell you more about the new fries, everything else going on here in Orangeburg, South Carolina, with brand new Firehouse Subs. Come check it out. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour will continue coming up here live from Firehouse Subs. FirehouseSubs.com. Order your lunch now.
welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Ty West Chris along with you here on your Tuesday on the game, enjoying some delicious Firehouse Subs. I just had the brisket and bacon. I got the spicy Cajun sitting right here next to me.
Wow. You're on a pace, Tyler.
Yeah. I've had some of the fries you guys were talking about in the last break there. They're good. They live up to the hype.
I mean, it's like a perfect fry. It really is. You know, sometimes you get a fry and the looks can be deceiving. It's like, all right, this looks pretty good. And then it's like soggy or it's greasy. These are just perfect. Like they look really good, and then they deliver. I mean, they are crispy, not greasy. I told y'all I love the fry sauce. So the Firehouse Hero sauce, outstanding. You can add. We got a tray over here where Larry has added some of the Captain Sorensen's hot sauce as well. You can mix and match a little bit there. Endless options.
Yeah, so again, we're going up until noon. Come by and see us, 133 Magnolia Village Parkway. Wes is eating a sandwich right now, so I don't know if he's forfeiting his opportunity to answer the trivia question today or not. So it's just going to be you, I guess.
By the way, so I heard I get regular updates on the trivia questions.
You said your wife keeps tabs even when you're not on the show.
And my mother-in-law, who's a regular listener.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. And so now I have a question.
All right.
I know I can't get credit. If I don't show up, I don't get credit. I got the last trivia question, though.
Okay.
Did you give the score of the game as a hint?
Okay, which trivia question are you talking about?
So this is the one, the Spencer Lanning field goal record, I think?
Yes, from yesterday.
Yesterday. So did you give the score as a hint, or did you say it afterwards?
He asked, or I gave him the hint that it was an early season game.
Okay.
Because typically Georgia and South Carolina played early in the season. He did not get it right, but no, the score was not a hint. The score was not a bonus point at the end.
No, but you told him the score.
No, I didn't tell him the score. I didn't tell him the score until
after
he guessed it was Georgia.
All right, well, then I forfeit even saying I would have gotten it because I probably, when you said that score, it's a weird score.
Right.
41-37, and I was like, that's the Georgia.
And I felt like that would have given it away.
Yeah, it probably would have. For me, it did.
As I mentioned yesterday, and I firmly remember watching this game. We don't really talk about the Joe Cox season that much at Georgia, but that was a wild game. And Georgia proceeded to play another wild game with Arkansas the following week, both very high scoring. And, you know, those mid-2000s games between Carolina and Georgia, typically low scoring. Neither team got over 20 points. So to see both teams eclipse 35 in that kind of game was kind of bizarre because that's just not kind of the standard of what that game was at that point in time.
Yeah, just a crazy game. And, you know, ended up. That's the game Georgia batted down a pass, I think, on fourth down. One of those wild games.
I think Garcia got picked off on – or no. It was a turnover on downs that Carolina had on their last drive.
Yeah, it was like a fourth and four. Got a pass batted. I think he had a guy open, pass got batted down. So, yeah, crazy game. But that gave it away for me. So, okay, I would not have gotten it, just to clear there.
And Wes, you're willingly giving up your opportunity to answer this question if you're going to stay over there and eat the sub.
No. So he's coming. Let him answer from there.
You want to answer from there?
Yeah, let him answer from there.
We'll try and let him answer from there. All right, today's 33 days until kickoff. Brandon Bennett holds the single-game rushing record for South Carolina. How many yards did he get in that game?
278.
All right. Since he's sitting over there, I said Brandon Bennett has the single-game rushing record for South Carolina. How many yards?
278.
We'll Price is Right this, so closest answer wins. 278 is the winner. Bonus point. Can you tell me who he did it against?
East Tennessee.
You got it. Boom.
I did my research today, Tyler.
Did you have a feeling it was going to be Brandon Bennett?
Yes.
Are there any of the 33s that you were like conscious of, hey, it could be him?
Not guys that I was like, he'll probably ask a question, but Jeremiah Garrison was a guy I remember.
Okay.
Who, unless I'm getting it totally wrong, somebody might correct me. I think he wore 33. Belton native. BHP, played for Holtz.
All right.
Linebacker. But I didn't think you were going to ask me a Jeremiah Garrison question.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. You know, I some of these, because here's what I'll do. I'll typically, this is insight into my process here. I will, if I am not aware of somebody that wore that number, you know, again, going back in time, I'm not going to be as aware of you guys, some of these guys. I will Google South Carolina football and that number, see what pops up, and go from there. Sometimes I'll go through the rosters that, the website has going back all the way to 2008,
Yep.
and I just kind of pieced it together. But yes, Brandon Bennett did pop up as a 33. I'm like, okay, well, that's perfect. And yes, he holds the single game rushing record for South Carolina against East Tennessee State all the way back in, oh God, what year was that? Early 90s.
1991, I want to say.
1991.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've talked a lot of running backs in this week alone. And as we get into the lower numbers, we get into more of the skill position type of players, 50s and 60s, a little bit harder because you're talking about linemen and things like that. But we're getting into the running backs now. We talked about George Rogers, talked about Steve Wadiak on Friday, I believe. I don't think you were here for that one.
Yep.
And now, obviously, Brandon Bennett. So some legendary running backs for Carolina. Got some more coming up. I'm sure we'll have a Marshawn Lattimore question coming up in the next couple of days as well.
How many? How much is the Brandon Bennett over the top against Georgia discussed in Athens? Is that one of those games that's like, man, that was like, because at Carolina, there's a few moments in games of like what if or like heartbreakers or like one that gets brought up a lot is Marquez North's one-handed catch for Tennessee against South Carolina in Knoxville in 2013. That basically that game kept South Carolina from getting to Atlanta. It's the SEC title game.
Yep.
I don't remember even Georgia's record that year, but that was I just remember the Munson call.
What year was that?
93.
93.
Yeah, the over the top, the 1 yard touchdown. Larry Munson had like the iconic call of it.
It's funny because in doing my Brandon Bennett research, there's a write up on the Gamecocks Online website when he got to be the honorary starter back in 2014. I'm assuming against the Georgia game, they directly referenced that play.
Yeah.
And the Munson call of it and all that kind of stuff. And I'd seen it obviously.
Yeah.
But given the fact that it went the other way, it's not something that's constantly replayed within the Georgia lore. So it's not something that people are as up on as say, Run Lindsey Run or the Hobnail Boot or something along those lines.
Yeah. No, I mean, Brandon Bennett was, an outstanding running back in South Carolina. And Kevin Miller actually has a piece up on Gamecock Central right now. You can go check it out, free to read for everybody. But he kind of broke down Bennett's game and some of the notable moments that he had.
By the way, the aesthetic, I know it's kind of hard to see because we're across the table from each other. The running back aesthetic that he has with those enormous shoulder pads,
they're way up there.
The big cage face mask and the mouthpiece, like that screams bruiser to me.
That's exactly what Kevin says in the story, bruiser. He's a 5'11" back, so he's not like this huge back. But yeah, those shoulder pads are like I don't know, they're like forehead level. Like they're way up there.
Yeah. It's funny. I think we have a perception now, and I was watching the Wishbone documentary on ESPN Plus last night. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, but you're talking about a lot of 60s, 70s, and 80s highlights being shown in there. And I think we have this perception that college football players were bigger back then, which is not true because you look at the measurements of guys now compared to then, and it's a night and day difference because guys now are obviously bigger. But I think the shoulder pads, the helmets, even the pants and the shoes just made everybody look thicker and bigger. Yeah. And that's not necessarily the case.
Bring back the linebacker like neck roll and huge shoulder pad. I always love watching the old games too, and they're going through the starting lineups, and it's like, starting center 6'3", 250. It's like, wow. Yeah. I mean, it's guys are just the evolution of like how big, strong, fast, scary guys have gotten since then.
I love to pose the question of, okay, let's say you took any national championship team from before 1960, maybe even up into the 80s. If you took any national championship team and put them up against, I don't know, what Akron was regarded as one of the worst teams in college football a year ago.
Disrespect intended?
Yeah, disrespect intended. They came here. We saw what happened. But you took last year's Akron team versus the national champions of 1950. That Akron team would blow them out the water.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be close.
Because, again, what today's athlete is, and look, we got technology, we know nutrition better, strength, all that kind of stuff. It's not even measurable compared to what they were doing back then.
That's why I get irritated when people are like, oh, that college team could beat, the Cleveland Browns. I'm like, no, they couldn't. It would actually be we need to just do it at some point.
Sure. The perception during the Alabama dynasty was, hey, X year Alabama team, 2009, 2011, 12, whatever you want, they could hang in there with the Browns. No, they couldn't. Because here's the thing. The Alabama team, sure, they have a handful of NFL starters on their team.
Sometimes their whole side of the ball.
Sometimes their whole side of the ball. But guess what? That Browns roster has 53 NFL caliber players
They're
on
all,
it. Like,
yeah.
Could they score some touchdowns? Sure. I still think it'd be a blowout.
Yeah, we can't really test run the teams from the 60s or 80s. Those guys are too old to play
No.
now. We'd have to get a time machine.
Maybe because the old college football video games had where you could play
Yeah.
the historic teams, which ended up leading into the trouble of the games getting taken away, funny enough, with the basketball games. But, like, you used to be able to take, like, hey, the 1973 Notre Dame team, you could play them against this year's, Southern Cal team or whatever. I think they make it a little bit more even, but I'd love to be able to somehow craft that kind of game just to know what the outcome would be.
Yeah, you have to do some kind of you'd have to have a time machine. You'd have to have the iteration that you had then versus what you had now. But I think that the athleticism is just so crazy now. The size, speed, athleticism, the skill back then was certainly there. The athleticism was there, but
sure,
it's just ramped up so much.
Oh, where is Mike Shula going to be calling plays from? He talked about that yesterday when he joined Jay and Bill on the halftime show. We'll get to that coming up next. Is broadcast live from Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg going until noon here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris, we are hanging out here at Firehouse Subs in Orangeburg, going for about another half hour, enjoying some delicious Firehouse Subs, some French fries as well. Having a great time here. As always, appreciate our Larry Chandler, who we'll talk to here in just a couple minutes for once again allowing us to be out at one of his Firehouse Subs locations. And I want to remind you as well, again, this Saturday, you can join Dr. Kerry White Brown and 107.5 The Game for the White Brown Smiles Water Drive Saturday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. at 224 O'Neill Court. Going to be collecting bottled water for local homeless and nonprofit organizations. Again, that's this Saturday from 10 until 1 at Dr. Kerry White Brown's office at 224 O'Neill Court for the 107.5 The Game and White Brown Smiles campaign. Yesterday, we heard from some of the assistants out at Birdies with Beamer. One of those that got to sit down with Jay and Bill on the halftime show was Mike Shula, and the question was posed to him, where exactly are you going to be calling games from this upcoming season? Here was his latest update on that question.
So, yeah, I mean, there's pluses and minuses to both. I've done both. And, yeah, we'll probably make a decision pretty quick into it. What makes that decision for me probably easier than what most people are thinking about is, it goes back to I got good people around me. So if I'm on the field down there with Lenoris, I'm going to have really good guys upstairs that I can count on. I can trust exactly what the information that we're going to get, and it's going to be instant. If I'm up in the box, I can trust guys that are going to communicate well down on the field with all their. I know that because I was down there last year, how these guys communicate on the field, on the sideline, their players and how they handle things. It's easy when you're scoring touchdowns, but when things don't go well and all of a sudden you get a little bit antsy, that's when. But we have good leadership down there with our guys, so we'll probably look into it. We're still talking about it, but there's pluses and minuses.
So I think the question becomes okay, does he still want to have that one-on-one with Sellers like he had, a season ago? Because again, I would imagine everybody knows Steve myself, but I imagine being up there in the box does have a lot of advantages from being able to see the whole field and just the schematics of it all. But again, you don't quite have that one-on-one like Shula had. And again, it sounds like it's still a decision being made. He doesn't know. Sellers doesn't know as of yet. And it could be something that they, experiment with early in the season before they get comfortable with one or the other.
Well, when they start scrimmaging and they get into Williams-Brice Stadium, they're going to have basically days where they will try to simulate everything. And so that means when you're at practice, if a guy is lined up wrong, if a guy doesn't know what he's doing, maybe the coach gets in and says, hey, you got to do this correctly. But when they go into those days where they're trying to simulate everything, it'll be just like a game. So there won't be that sort of in real time instruction from the coaches to the players. And they'll have to use the headsets. They'll have to use whatever signals they're using, and then that'll be that. And so I imagine – every coach has maybe the way they have done things in the past. And so he'll probably lean on that to an extent. But I think you're right, man. They'll probably experiment with how that's going to work. And the real thing, so Shula will need to find who is going to be his Mike Shula. So, in other words, he was Shula to Loggins last year. And that meant, hey, Loggins can be in the booth. Loggins can look down. If you're in the booth, man, you're really kind of you're out of all the elements. You almost are. What's the word? It's almost like you're not in the game. You know what I'm saying? You're more looking at scheme, X's and O's. You have a great big picture view of everything. And at Williams-Brice Stadium, you can't hear the crowd as much. I don't know. So I could see why he would want to be on the sidelines and look Lenoris in the eye. But I think, man, if you're a play caller, though, knowing exactly, hey, this cornerback is bailing out, or they're running this cover 3 defense with the safeties deeper than usual. Those are the type things you can notice in the box that you just cannot see. Your sight lines are terrible on the sideline that you can't see from the sideline. My guess is that he will ultimately end up in the box, which is something that all the NFL coordinators are typically in the box. And with his NFL background, that would be my guess, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I do think what you brought up is important, is finding, Shula's version of himself from last year. That's something that as the year went on last season, we talked about that a lot of like South Carolina. Yeah, Lenore Sellers deserves a lot of credit. Loggins for what he did last year, but Shula, according to what we saw from what Sellers said and what we heard from people in the program, Shula was a huge part of that success. Being able to be, I mean, Lenore Sellers is a pretty calm guy, right? But just to be a calming influence, to be able to trade, information and ideas back and forth. What are you seeing out there? Tips before you go out on the field, tips when you come off the sideline. So finding that next guy. So, I mean, one of the guys that Shula will certainly be leaning on in some form or fashion is Davis Cutter, who's the son of Dirk Cutter. That's the tie to Mike Shula from the pro level. He is a former high school quarterback, and he spent the past couple of he joined the program in January and spent the 2 seasons before that on Steve Sarkisian's staff at Texas, and got to see how they do things. And one of those years, he worked with the quarterbacks as a graduate assistant. So I would imagine that's a guy he's going to lean on. Ben Burris, who's the passing game coordinator, who also came from the NFL, guy we've heard good things about being just really sharp. That's another guy that during the week of prep and on game day, those people are very important because, like you said, Wes, you got that big picture view as a coordinator. You need all that data coming in that you can kind of plug into what is my plan going to be.
Well, now I think about it, the fact that Sellers has an entire year under his belt, he's obviously going to need somebody on the sidelines to be able to go to, but it's not as much, I think, drinking out of a fire hose as maybe it was last year, where you maybe need that more veteran, former head coach, former NFL play caller, like a Mike Shula out there to really explain everything that's happening that you may not be understanding, where now he's got a season under his belt. Again, still need somebody there on the sidelines to be able to help him out, but not having to take in quite as much as he was a year ago.
Yeah, and I think Lenoris, as much as Shane Beamer has said, hey, he's the same guy off the field. Lenoris is going to be a different guy on the field. I think just in terms of leadership, in terms of comfort level, in terms of just dealing with all the things that comes right along with having 80,000 people and cameras on you and all those things. So I think for Lenoris, taking on bigger leadership role, like being a little bit more vocal, all those things kind of are layered with what you're talking about. It's a huge difference, man. We saw it against ODU last year in his first ever start. Like he admitted it, he was a little bit nervous. There were some butterflies, and I think that got to him a little bit. Are you still going to need feedback on the sideline to Lenore Sellers? Of course you are. He's still, relatively speaking, a pretty young quarterback, but in terms of dealing with just the elements of being down there, yeah, certainly, man. He's going to be much more well qualified to deal with those things.
And we'll see what Shula ultimately decides to do before the season or when the season does get here. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the day at Firehouse in Orangeburg. Guy Larry Chandler going to join us up next here on your Tuesday on the Game. Not the answer. All right, welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris have been out at Firehouse Subs here in Orangeburg all morning long, and once again joined by our guy Larry Chandler. Larry, as always, thank you for allowing us to come hang out at a new location.
Yeah.
Out here in Orangeburg today.
Yeah, appreciate y'all driving on the way to Orangeburg. So a lot of people love y'all here. They've coming up, asking for autographs and stuff like that.
Asking for Tyler's autograph.
Yeah, Tyler, hardest working guy at 107.5.
I appreciate that. I like to think so.
Sorry, Terry.
We got some new features here, though, Larry. So first of all, we've had the fries, which I got to say, you told us about them a while back.
Right.
Sources. So we got like the inside scoop. I felt very important when you told us about the fries. We have now tried them. They lived up to everything you said and more. We also have the what do y'all call it? Is there an official name for the kiosk? No, the kiosk.
Oh, just kiosk.
Just kiosk. Okay. We got the kiosk. You can come in. So now you can come in. You can order from the friendly Firehouse Subs staffers. You can order from the kiosk. You can order on the app. You can order online. What I'm saying is there's no excuse.
No excuse.
You have to order from Firehouse Subs.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm glad y'all like the fries. They're
They're great.
really good. So,
Yeah.
you know, and, our special hero sauce that goes with them. So we're getting ready to put fries throughout every restaurant in Columbia. So hopefully by the end of
Nice.
August at the latest, hopefully sooner.
And one more location. Well, I don't want to say it like that's the last, but another location coming soon, right? That we're going to be out at on Monday.
Yeah, we're opening up, if everything goes the way we expect it, we'll open on Monday in Spears Creek, exit 83, right off I-20. So everybody come out.
Be our second grand opening
Yeah.
that we've been able to do.
I know. I think I'm still going to be full from. I almost had
Yeah.
to sit this segment out because I've eaten so many subs before we came on.
I feel like we did another grand opening.
We did the other Orangeburg.
Yeah.
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 At least did that one.
So that'll
We
be our
did
third.
the out at
Third, okay.
Spring Valley.
Oh, Spring Valley
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Maybe I wasn't here yet when I did the first one.
Um,
I've been there for the other one
Okay.
we didn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Larry, you want to tell everybody your secret sauce? This is the Captain Sorensen. I mean, it's not a secret, but it's it's a secret
mix is,
addition
yeah.
Well,
to the fries.
it is something. We got the hero sauce for the fries, but my go-to is Captain Sorensen with the fries. So it adds a little spice to it, and really, really good. Can't beat it. The hero sauce is awesome though. So a little mayonnaise taste to it. Good.
Do you mind if when we ever get in the test kitchen or whatever, do I have some leeway to take this basket of fries and make like a loaded fry situation? With, like,
I can see
meat,
you
bacon?
doing chili fries. I can see you doing all
I
kind of
didn't
stuff
even
right
think
there.
about that.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic idea.
I think we throw the brisket on there.
Yeah.
I want the
See,
brisket, bacon, cheese.
You can take a
ranch.
sandwich minus the bread and just put it on the fries.
Just dump it on there.
Exactly, and then mix it
Just
up,
the
and
bread
boom,
on the
there you
side.
got it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We could do any
Yeah.
sandwich.
You can have a hook and ladder on fries instead of bread. Boom.
The
Hey,
wheels are turning.
Hey, we still got to do a segment where we're just not open. Y'all just come in and we just let
Yeah.
y'all go to town back there.
I'm
Oh.
for it.
I'm
The,
down.
the possibilities are endless.
I'm still pushing for the Firehouse Subs breakfast.
Yes, you are. I'm trying.
He's like, I know.
Everything takes a minute. Chris has got all these recipes. I'm trying to push through the test kitchen in Jacksonville and all this good stuff. So
we got
they think I'm the smartest guy in the world now because you guys.
Man, Larry's got some good ideas here. It's seriousness. So we're talking before you came on with us about game one. I know we tend to talk about Gamecock sports every time you come on here too, but you are going to Atlanta. It's going to be your birthday. What, the Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
The day after the game.
Yeah,
Okay.
day after game.
So happy early birthday,
Yeah.
number one, and hopefully you'll get a
Coach
Gamecock
Beamer promised to win.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Just for your birthday?
for my birthday. So
Nice.
That's nice.
he's never let me down, so I don't expect.
Okay, that's good.
Good.
But going down to Atlanta, going to watch some football.
Yeah.
I mean, packed weekend, right?
Yeah.
Saturday, football. You got some big games. Sunday, you got big game at Carolina. Be a good birthday weekend for you.
It will be. I think Saturday just find somewhere and sit for
Post up.
12 hours and watch football. It was a great birthday present. So
This be your first game in Mercedes-Benz. You've been there before.
I've seen Green Bay Packers, Atlanta Falcons
Okay.
2 years ago, and that's the only game I've seen there. It's unbelievable
Okay.
stadium.
Nice.
I don't know if y'all been there, but it's unbelievable.
I actually haven't.
It's impressive.
Very impressive.
I went for the first time this year, and it's got a lot of bells and whistles. That's for sure.
It definitely does. And they have that ability with you can actually stand on the sideline. You're kind of on the sideline with some certain seats, so you can walk out Crazy. Not right on the sideline, but pretty close to it.
Sure. Larry, is there anybody you're looking forward to watching play this year the most, other than Lenora Sellers?
I think I'm seeing Nick Harbour. He looks like he looks like a defensive end, and he looks like Randy. I tell him he looks like Randy Moss. I swear, it's amazing how big he is. He's a lot more built than he was this time last year. But I think he's going to have a great year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
I'm sure he'll end up on what is it, Feldman, that does the freaks list every year.
Yep.
I'm sure for the third year in a row he'll probably be at the top, if not number one again.
Yeah, that comes out probably in the next
couple
week
weeks
or two.
Yeah.
Well, anybody? Dylan's got a shot.
Dylan's got
Dylan's
a
got
shot.
a shot.
Oh, yeah.
Being on there. He should be on there. He may not be, but he should be.
He definitely should be for sure.
I don't know what how the whatever the testing measurables are, but
the freak criteria.
it should just turn on the film.
Yeah.
And there's got to be some kind of bend rate or something for a defensive end of how he can move his body and stuff. I mean, it's.
I think the bend ratio for him is off the chart, one of the best ever, I've been told.
Yeah. When you talked to Nolan Hay a couple weeks ago, he said they were using Stewart as an example to them of how bendy a defensive end can be.
Yeah,
and they could believe he was a freshman.
Look at this guy. This is what you have to here. Technique wise, here's how you can maybe kind of sort of try to slow this down. And he said they were all just watching it at Incarnate Word, and they're just like, what do you do with that? It's just impossible. Block this guy. Yeah, you can't do it. So sure, for Josiah Thompson, Casey Henry, those getting to work against him in practice is helpful.
Yeah,
Got to be.
Definitely so.
Yeah.
Well, again, we'll probably get to talk to you on Monday as well. But what's the feeling a month out from the season, or a little over a month out from the season, on how this year's going to go?
Well, I think what Wes said a while ago, you just got to play one game at a time because that schedule is off the chart if you just look at it. But hopefully we'll be ready playing Virginia Tech and have a great start to the season. I think it's an ACC team. I think we'll be jacked up, ready to go. I think they have our attention. So looking forward to it. Won't be long.
I feel like you can learn a lot more about a team playing in Virginia Tech. I know ODU was close last year, but as opposed to playing like a G5 or an FCS team right out of the gate.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'd rather play these kind of games. So definitely.
Looking forward to that. Again, 33 days away from kickoff. And Larry, thank you once again for allowing us to
Appreciate
be out
you,
here
Larry.
trying the
Thank
fries.
y'all.
And we always have a good time at our Firehouse
Appreciate it.
Subs.
Always. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
That'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Coming up next, halftime show with Bill Gunner and myself whenever I get back to the studio. Up next here on the game.